The Lovebirds is available to watch now on Netflix, but did I fall in love with the movie? I'll let you know right now. How's it going, everybody? I'm Dan Murrell here with my review of The Lovebirds, which was originally scheduled for a theatrical release back in April, but because of the ongoing coronavirus situation, was bumped from its release date, then purchased by Netflix to debut on the streaming service, which is where it is now available. So this is not a Netflix original movie like we've seen with Extraction and the half of it, a couple that I did a review for recently. This is a movie that was produced by Paramount, meant for theatrical release, but bought by Netflix and skipped theaters altogether. This is directed by Michael Showalter, who is reuniting with co-star Kumail Nanjiani after their huge success with The Big Sick. It also stars Issa. The two star as Gibran and Leilani, a couple whose romance has sort of hit the skids, but is upended by their witnessing of a murder, their fear of being framed by the police for it, and trying to unravel this mystery. This is also a comedy. As a matter of fact, it's a real two-hander. It reminded me a lot of an 80s comedy, those One Night in the Life of, which, originated certainly long before the 80s, but that you saw a lot of throughout that decade. And if you're gonna cast a two-hander, if you want to have two people really carrying a lot of the movie, then you really can't cast better than Kumail Nanjiani and Issa Rae. They both are very, very funny in their own right, and they actually make a very good comedic team. I would love to see these two teamed up in a different film that doesn't necessarily have to have a romantic subplot either. I just think that they're great together on screen. You can tell the screenplay, which is credited to Aaron Abrams and Brendan Gall, you could tell that they also have gotten a lot of great touches from their actors. Really good casting from Michael Showalter and the team behind the movie. And Michael Showalter, by the way, has really been on a hot streak lately. As a matter of fact, his last three films have been three that I really enjoyed. This film, The Big Sick, as I mentioned, and Hello, My Name is Doris, which is a criminally underseen movie from a few years ago starring Sally Field, who should have gotten a lot of recognition at the awards on the awards circuit for her performance in that film. So Michael Showalter, we all knew he was a really funny, talented guy from his work with The State, of course, Wet Hot American Summer, all the stuff that he did as a writer and performer and director on television and movies that he himself starred in or co-starred in. But he is really coming into his own as well as a comedic director, and I can't wait to see the next film that he produces because these last few have been so enjoyable. Another great thing that I like about The Lovebirds is it is a comedy that knows exactly how long it needs to be. It's actually under 90 minutes, which is the perfect length for this movie because, as I mentioned, it's pretty much one night in the life of these two people, and even at 87 minutes, every now and again, it's weighed down slightly by the extended riffing that you see in a lot of comedies, and I get it. You have two really funny, great actors, and you want to let them show their stuff a lot. And it works a lot of the time, but sometimes the scenes kind of go on a little bit too long, maybe 30 seconds too long, because it's that temptation to just let the camera roll, let them riff, let that chemistry work, and it does work most of the time. At 90 minutes, it's the perfect length for this kind of comedy, and that's been a lot of my complaints with many recent comedies, particularly in the the Judd Apatow vein, which is they let the camera roll for so long through these riffs, and that the runtime a lot of times will get to 2 hours plus when the movies don't really need to be that long. The Lovebirds fixes the first problem. It is a perfect runtime for this movie. The riffing problem, for me, it existed there a little bit, but not to the extent that you've seen in a lot of other comedies. And really, there are so many great scripted lines, but that also kind of underscored one of the saddest things about this whole situation that we're going through right now, which is that more so than any other movie I've watched since the theaters were shut down, this movie really made me miss the theatrical experience, because I think that along with horror films, comedies are the one genre that just don't play the same when you're watching it at home versus watching it with a crowd. With horror movies, it's the theme park element. It's the idea of being strapped into this ride that you're going on together. And especially if it's a really well done horror film, that ride that you take with an audience, you just can't replicate that at home, even if you're watching with a group of friends. Comedies for me are very much the same way. As I mentioned, that there were lines that made me smile or chuckle or laugh at home that would have been big belly laughs in a theater, and it's because comedy in particular is a very communal experience. That's why comedians work in clubs. That's why they do live specials. That's why I think a lot of the late night comedians struggled to find their footing when their audiences, their studio audiences, were taken away. And so I really do think that the Lovebirds, had it been released theatrically, if we were in a different reality where things went down a much better path, I really think that this would have found a pretty broad audience, and I hope that that audience still finds it on Netflix. But I do think that the watching experience is, I'm not going to say diminished, but certainly different, not the same. And it's nothing to put on this movie, but it did make me feel a little sad that I didn't get to see this film in a theater with people. And when I talk about the theatrical experience and the things that you can't replicate, movies like The Lovebirds are kind of what I point to, which is that they're entertaining and funny, and the jokes are still as solid as they ever were when you're watching at home. But I wish that I could live in a time and in a reality where I could have experienced this in a theater with others, because that's the way it was meant to be seen. That's the way that artists like Michael Showalter and comedians like Kumail Nanjiani and Issa, particularly in comedy, mean for their work to be seen. And I hope that all of these talents behind this movie get to make another one very soon that is shown in theaters, because that is the theatrical experience in a nutshell. It's that shared reaction and that shared experience that you have with an audience. And more than any other movies, more than Scoob and more than all of the VOD stuff that's come out, or the stuff that had a shortened theatrical window that I've watched at home, this movie more than anything made me miss that experience of sitting in a theater with an audience. And it's an experience that I really hope that I'll get to have again in the very near future when it is safe for everyone to do so. So The Lovebirds, I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. It does strain a little bit under the over-riffing, but overall, some really strong writing, very strong performances, a great team from Kumail Nanjiani and Issa, and another great turn from director Michael Showalter. So if you have Netflix, if The Lovebirds is available for you to watch this weekend, this Memorial Day weekend, I think it is worth your time and the investment of the couch time that you put into watching this film. So that's my review of The Lovebirds. Are you going to check it out on Netflix? Did you already check it out? It's opening day for pretty much everybody that has it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And thank you so much for watching this review. You can join me here on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Thank you to everyone that has been doing that. It's been a big week. You never expect things like a Snyder Cut to fall out of the sky, but that happened earlier this week. And it's been amazing to see how many people have been engaging with my take on it. So thank you to any of my new subscribers and new viewers that are watching this review. If you want to see even more stuff that I'm doing, you can check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/Dan Murrell. Not only will you be able to see everything that you see here on the channel, a lot of the stuff that you'll be able to see early over there, as well as things like my monthly movie club, which we are about to recap in the next week or so. You get a monthly feature-length commentary track for a movie of your choice. And these are just a few of the producer-level patrons over on Patreon that are helping me keep things on track. Thank you so much to them for their amazing support, and thank you to you for your support watching this video, and we'll see you next time.